how are you making room in your life to take a break from the money, to take a break from the power, to take a break from the noise, and help fulfill your purpose? Welcome to the Vast Mind Open Soul podcast. Welcome to the Vast Mind Open Soul podcast. We're your hosts, Dylan Griffin and
Hunter Drake.
And today we're going to be looking at the relationship between purpose and power.
Yes, sir. There's a lot of different ways to interpret these two things, whether that be spiritually or mentally. Purpose and power are very common drives for everyday life and something that many of us are looking at when we look in terms of our future or our growth. It's going to be, how do I gain more power, or how do I go and stay on with my purpose? So, Dylan, what is one way that you see purpose?
I mean, purposely. For me as a Christian, I tend to follow God's purpose that He has set out for me to build my relationship with God, to just help guide others toward His light. Just let God work through me. And then also I have my own purposes as living a good life, having fun, doing that sort of a thing, but also having my life laid out for God.
Of course. And I feel like many people seem to think sometimes that their purpose may be to do what's right for them.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like you feel like it's to do what's right for God.
Yeah,
100%. And His people.
Mm-hmm.
And to serve others seems like it's very important in your life.
Absolutely. That is my main driver and my main purpose in my life. But I do think that when it comes to relationship between power and my relationship with my purpose, I definitely see that at least in my life, power is almost a technique I guess I could say that it feels like Satan uses to drive me away from God's purpose. Lure me with money, lure me with popularity, power over people, likes, views, something of that sorts. Yeah. When in reality, as a Christian, I should not be chasing money. I should be chasing God's love and chasing for I guess just the hope that other people can find God as well, because that's what that is my purpose that I want to fulfill. I feel like that's how God can use me, and that's God's purpose through me. But when Satan goes and throws a fishing line, it feels like with a power in any way, shape, or form, it definitely seems like it's just a way to get me off path.
Interesting take for sure. So how do you see power then? What is power to you?
I think power is I see it as, power over people, right? The ability to control other people almost. I see it as social status. You have power in leaders, political leaders. You have power in wealth and just the dollar. You have power in your own life to feel a certain way, whether it be a sinful way or to be a righteous way, right? You have power over all of these different things, but it's how you, I guess almost how you utilize it. But that's how I see power and my, I guess how I view it.
Yeah. I feel like, well, you could say you have the power to serve your purpose.
True. Yeah.
For me, purpose would be, I feel like it's definitely includes helping others, serving others, doing things that will not only make me feel good, but make those around me feel good. One of my sayings is I love to love.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like it's a purpose of mine to love others. And that's also something that, Jesus is very prominent with, is to love your neighbor.
Yeah.
And purpose, it's what I always look towards. There's often where, you can gain power and money,
Mm.
gain power in a lot of different ways. But when I feel most powerful in a righteous and positive way is when I'm stepping closer to my purpose. And when I have powerful things in a way and I get to, I have the power to do whatever I want, say whatever I want, go here and there. Um it it's not as fulfilling.
Mm.
But when I'm on that set path where I feel like I'm aligning with my purpose, then it feels like things are a little bit more steady and I feel more strong, more powerful, I guess is the best way to say it, feel more powerful.
So I've definitely noticed that when I like when my power, I guess, aligns with my purpose, when God is using his power through me, for me, it feels like almost like a spiritual strength, like a spiritual resiliency, right? The ability to fight off the temptation of the devils and to stay true to like my Christian path. But I guess how I'm wondering is that's what I see as like the good power, but how you said that power in forms of like money, in forms of some of those things um can't be or like sometimes aren't good, but power like feeling powerful when it aligns with your purpose. Like how what is that powerful? Like you said you feel powerful, but like what powerful to do what?
So it's more of like it's a sort of thing where I feel my best, right? It's not like I feel like, you know, I can go tell people what they're doing is wrong or the way they should be doing things, or that I can go and be like, I'm doing this, I am fulfilling my purpose and like all of that. It's more of an internal thing. Maybe I feel more outgoing. Um, maybe I feel like less restricted in terms of judgment. I feel maybe more free.
Hmm.
I feel like freedom is a very powerful thing to be able to
Yeah.
choose what we do, like free will. It's very powerful. I think our minds are very powerful.
Mm.
Um, so when I'm feeling powerful, it's when I'm honing in on those things. Um, but I can say I feel very powerless or, you know, in a poor state. Like I feel weak when I'm not aligned with my purpose.
Yeah.
That's why we're comparing the relationship between the two because they almost go hand in hand.
So
It's usually seen as opposites, right? Like they contrast each other, but they're meant for each other.
but I see like that, how you were kind of saying, like the power to almost be able to do what you want, but the power to fulfill your purpose. But that's almost like, in my opinion, that's more of like courage and determination, and I guess even like willpower to like pursue your purpose. But as far as like power and having like this, you know, the strength to be able to do something, to be able to like pack that punch, I think that it could even be, again, like a strategy of the devil to tell you that, hey, you're powerful to um, share this story with the people in this way. So
Mm,
go and like, and then he can start to slowly implement ways that, like, by making you feel more comfortable to share different types of stories. Maybe he makes you feel more comfortable to share stories that will end up like straying people away, that sort of thing.
okay.
I think the devil works in, I mean, the Bible says he's very smart. So it's like the ways that he works, I think that power for him is like, it's a tool. So I think it's definitely, there is courage and willpower to be able to fulfill your purpose. But I think that, I mean, I guess power could be a definition that you could use for that in place of courage and willpower. But I also think that don't let the word dominate how you interact with others to fulfill your purpose, if that makes any
Yeah, of
sense.
course. Well, I feel like that goes into how you interpret the word, and that's why we're breaking it down
Hmm.
because there is many different ways. And I feel like words themselves sometimes aren't very
They
good
don't
at
tell
what
the whole
they
story.
do because you can't, a word can't really depict, that the feelings or the intent or the essence behind what they're trying to convey.
Yeah.
Um, like I know we talked about, poetry and stuff in a
Hmm.
previous episode. That's definitely something that gets the job done a little bit better.
Hmm.
But like a single word like power and purpose, you know, you could say, I mean, some people like they believe it's their purpose to become a
Powerful.
model, or it's their purpose to become powerful in
Mhm.
terms of, taking over the world, or to leading a cult or
Yeah.
things like that. So,
Even a common thing you see is wealth. People feel like their purpose is to become what they consider successful in life,
yes.
right? And
Hmm.
to them, for most people, when they say, are you going to become successful when you're older? If you ask a kid that, they're probably going to give an answer on the job they're going to go into, right? Just because that's the common way to think about it. And that's what people are taught, is to think that purpose is to become powerful in money, become powerful
Yeah.
in your relationships, become popular, right? Become famous. It's such a common thing that purpose is to become powerful. But power is to, in my opinion, derail you from your purpose. Not Purpose is not the rail to get there, but the derailer.
Interesting, interesting for sure. Um, yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's good to talk about this because power, there's a lot of ways that you could see power, and obviously most common is like negative, you
Mm-hmm.
know, when you see a powerful person, or when someone brings up, you know, um a powerful person. Just that the thought of a powerful person, who do you think about?
When I think of a powerful person, I think of world leaders. I mean, presidents, kings, previous queens, stuff like that. I think of like power in the social standpoint, right? I also think of power that the dollar has, and power in like rich people, like just the richest people in the world, the power that they have in just a dollar, right? I see it as pretty much the first thing that comes to mind of power is the ways that most people think about power,
Mm,
right? I mean, I can also think of power in like you're in a boxing fight and you're powerful in that sense,
yeah.
but then again, I think that's more of strength, right? In the same way of that, what I was saying, that well, the willpower and your strength, um, and like the fortitude, I see that as a better word for a lot of ways that people use power in the good way, right? But I mean, first thing that comes to mind for me is basically kind of what we've been talking about as the like
The negative side of it.
exactly. Like how do you see power when somebody says power, what do you think?
Honestly, it's a split between, you know, world leaders and those in control, whether that's like government, etc.
Hmm.
Um, obviously that's the main thought, but I also see power as in the power you have over your mind, being able to control your thoughts and your emotions, being able to have discipline. I think that's powerful, to be able to do something consistently, improve yourself. I think about the power of Jesus Christ.
Hmm.
I think of the power behind many spiritual teachers and esoteric teachers when they gathered many together, and I think there's power behind words.
Hmm.
I think there's power when multiple people gather together, um like what's that verse? I think we spoke about it before.
We're talking
The,
about Acts 1:8 that says that I think it was talking about the disciples and that they received power through the Holy Spirit.
yes, so that's one example. And then also we talked about um the prayer of a righteous man
Hmm.
is powerful alone.
Yeah.
With two or more, obviously it's going to increase. So it's like, which way is the right way? Is it the way you look at it and understand it in your mind? Is it the way, how much attention you put towards power? Like,
Hmm.
there's obviously two sides of the same coin.
Well, I think there's a lot more than two sides.
Yeah.
I've heard so many people talk about power in like I mean, I don't know, like they almost want like no power, or they want all the power, or they want some power. I mean, there's so many ways that, I mean, it can go, but that's why I think it's important for us to understand like how they interact with each other, right?
Yes.
Because again, as I was saying, the common belief is for power to become the result of purpose. That's what the common interpretation of the relationship. But a lot of people see power to fulfill your purpose, being whatever it may be.
Now, how about this? Power, you gain power through fulfilling your purpose,
Hmm.
but your purpose also gives you power. If that makes sense.
Or like your power helps fulfill your purpose,
Your power helps fulfill your purpose, and your purpose gives you power.
like kind of like a loop.
So yeah, it's like a back and forth. So as I was saying, like, I feel for me, um, part of my purpose is to improve, whether that be the control I have over my own life,
Hmm.
my mind, my words, my interactions with others, and that gives me power.
Hmm.
And then as I put that power back towards my purpose, it creates this loop.
Yeah. Yeah, but I even could see like the ability to choose to do what you want to do. Like I see it as, I mean, it is power if we look at it in the sense of, the ability to do something. But I think that, I mean, I'm trying to think if freedom is in a Christian sense, if it's beneficial to fulfilling God's purpose. I mean, yes, of course, like because I think it's interesting because the freedom also means that you can say yes to the devil's temptations, and you
Mm-hmm.
can say yes or go and like walk away from God. But it also means that when you say yes to God, that it could fuel your fire, right? So I don't know, but
And you
it's
can't tell me
such an
that alone
interesting
isn't
thing.
powerful.
Well, yes, but there like there is I'm saying there is a lot of things that are powerful, and there is power in pretty much everything, as well as weakness in almost everything. But I mean, I mean, you could even run it down to like how you see power, whether like if you're receiving power, how you're going to utilize it. Like when we were talking
Well,
about at,
yeah. If money is seen as power, right?
yeah,
If we receive a lot of money,
mm-hmm,
does that make us powerful? Or do can we create a powerful community with that money? Is that
that's true.
fueling something? Um,
Mm.
is
Like giving to the
power
church
fuel?
and
Well, exactly. Like power can come in a lot of ways.
yeah,
And when does it become an entity in itself that corrupts, diminishes, and kills?
I think it's, I think you can find it rooted in the word dominate. Like when you use power to dominate over other people, or to dominate over like certain things, it that becomes a derailer. But when you, I guess when you use,
What if you use power to dominate yourself?
well, it
Now,
that's but that's the same thing of like power to dominate yourself. Like when again, when you look at it from a Christian, like I guess my vision of it, my life is not my life. It's God's life. I surrendered it to God,
okay.
right? So my power over my own life is simply to let God use his power through me. So I don't want to use the power to dominate over myself, because I feel like it's not my body almost, like it's God
Mm,
speaking through my body.
wow. Okay. I want you to talk a little bit more about that because that's pretty deep.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just, I mean, I feel like I've gone through, I mean, I obviously haven't lived too long, but through what I've experienced, it's just like whenever I let it become about me, I find myself like, even when it makes me more popular, it makes me like have better relationships with the people around me, I've become more like, I guess I feel more isolated, and I feel more I mean, you could say the word
separate from
corrupt
God.
too. Yeah, yeah, no, 100%. Like it, I feel like I'm starting to stray away and straying closer towards the devil, even though it looks like it got to the point where I'm hanging out with friends and I feel lonely, even though I'm hanging out with friends,
Okay.
right?
Well, what I was kind of thinking is for me, when I feel like I'm best serving myself and serving God, and when I live my life for me
Hmm.
rather than for, well, because I see myself and my physical body is a totally separate thing.
Yeah.
So my soul, I kind of see as that as an emanation, if that's the right word, of God,
Oh
as
yeah,
his
yeah,
shadow in a sense. Like he quite literally took a piece of himself and put it into me, but I am not this body. So when I think of that, you know, serving my purpose, right?
yeah. Hmm.
Which is I think that has to mean to serve that soul aspect of me,
Yeah.
not do things that are gonna make me feel good, like overindulge in food. I mean, we have, what are they? The seven deadly sins: the gluttony,
Lust,
lust, all those
all
things.
those.
They're very physical things that you can do for your body.
Yeah.
And but when it comes to the soul, when I journal, when I read, when I better myself, when I gain more knowledge, when I gain wisdom. I mean, happy is a man that gaineth wisdom and getteth understanding. It's Proverbs. It's a verse in Proverbs.
Yeah.
You know that is. I feel like that is me living for not only God but for myself, because it's what He wants and what is fulfilling for
Yeah.
me, my purpose and His. Because what if you're living a life for God, or what if you're living a life for yourself and it's not for God, or what if you're living a life for God and you feel like, maybe some people have probably lived for a very Christian life for God, but
Hmm.
felt entirely out of place, like this isn't their purpose, like maybe they were meant to stray away to help others grow, or maybe what do you think about that? That's a different way to
Well,
think. Their
well,
purpose to help others.
I definitely want to start with like what you were saying with like your body and your soul being like two different entities.
I threw a
And
lot out there. I'm so
yeah,
sorry.
no, I'll tackle it like each at a time. I definitely agree that my body and my soul are like my soul is accompanying my body for while I'm here before I ascend to like my father, right? But I definitely even see it as my soul's purpose is to fulfill God's purpose. Like I see myself as entirely a servant of God, and I definitely think that my soul, like that is my soul's purpose, but it's using my body to do so, right?
Hmm.
So that's kind of what I'm saying. Like I've when I let my body and when I let my soul, I guess, walk the powerful path temporarily, because you can, if you walk the powerful path, in my opinion, you can only walk it temporarily before you um, meet the guy who is making you feel powerful, in my opinion, who's Satan. But in that sense, but then in the Christian sense, there's definitely the like using God's power to through us. Um, but then I even think that like when you were talking about the what was the question you just asked me? It was
It was it the
oh
one on other
your
people?
your power to fulfill other people's purposes.
Yes. Like, um, there's some people who may have been very Christ-aligned,
Hmm.
but they felt unfulfilled. They felt like they weren't on their purpose, on their path
Hmm.
that was their purpose. And maybe they're people who are meant to do other things, even if it's separate from God, to fulfill His purpose. What do
Yeah,
you think about that?
yeah. I think that um I definitely think that as us being like if you look at ourselves straying away from God to fulfill God's purpose, I mean you're in if you're straying away from God to fulfill God's purpose, that's not your intention to do so, right? And I think that that's in the ideal world, nobody would stray away from God. But I also think that everybody has their own path.
right?
And
But I'm trying. What I'm
no,
trying
no,
to say
I,
is like
I
there's
I'm getting there.
some
I'm getting
people.
yeah, no. Let me
Okay,
let me let me let me- So because I definitely think though, like I believe it's in the Bible, but it says that like God even uses like his enemies. I believe it says that. But it's also we were talking before about the role of Satan, right? Somebody who strays away from God also shows everybody the negative, which highlights the positives, right?
exactly.
So it's like, I definitely think that when you stray away from God, you almost become like an enemy to God with the intention to do bad, whether intentionally or unintentionally, that's the result of it.
Hmm.
But I don't think that like God's still going to use you in his own way. And I definitely know that there's people in my life who almost played like I almost want to say like a negative role model. Like they were bad role models to show me what not to do. And
100%.
and that was when they were walking a path that was away from God, it actually ended up bringing me closer. So I definitely know that there is there is people out there who end up fulfilling God's purpose. Um I guess you could say unintentionally, but um I mean,
It's such an interesting concept.
even when you look at Judas, right, who betrayed God, also allowed or who betrayed Jesus, sorry. Well, same
Fulfill the
thing.
prophecy,
Yeah, same person. Like Judas who betrayed Jesus also then allowed for Jesus to save everybody.
right? That gets me kind of a little bit of chills because he betrayed the living God,
Hmm.
but in the process allowed the living God to save us all.
Correct. Yeah.
How
And
could that have gone any other way?
right, right.
I don't even honestly, I don't have an answer.
But yeah, mm, and even when you look at like Matthew 4, when the Holy Spirit led Jesus into the forest to be tempted by Satan, it was after Satan was tempted by the devil that he began his ministry. Like literally in Matthew 4, he was tempted by the devil, verse after he began his ministry.
Who did?
Jesus.
Uh,
That was when he began his miraculous signs.
okay.
That was when he began spreading the word of God. Like that was like almost like the showing of like he's ready almost, but
So here's another far out idea. Is the devil fulfilling God's purpose?
in a way no, in a way yes.
Right?
Right, as we were kind of saying, in the way no, he is
God is
straight. Like he is also what the devil does. He uses deceit and lies and all these different techniques of sin to lure you away from God. But at the same time, he also believers for believers who stand true to God's word, it strengthens them, right?
yes.
But I mean, it also weakens people too.
But sometimes Satan will push you so low to the depths that you reach and I believe I've learned in a lot of lessons is that you have to surrender yourself,
Hmm.
which means you have to reach rock bottom, completely collapse, and that's the devil's doing. Like you feel so broken to the point where you start to build back up, and now you're at your highest point. Could you have done that if you weren't being pushed down, broken?
Like if you lost all of your power to fulfill your purpose, or like how?
So yeah, well now that got me thinking. You lose power, and then it makes you strengthened. So you lose power, and then you become powerful. I don't know, man. This is so.
It's an interesting dynamic.
It definitely is.
And that I mean that's why it's important to understand the relationship, but almost like I don't think there's any way to understand fully, but there definitely is ways to become aware of the negative ways that will pull you down.
Well,
But
that's why we're here,
but
dude.
there's
We
also
get to
when you
talk
were
about
saying
this.
that like it's used for a lot of people to make you fall to rock bottom before you rise back up. You also have the other side of the coin, which is Jesus, who lived a sinless life, who never fell down to the bottom. I mean, physically he did, but spiritually he never did. He was lived a sinless life,
Hmm.
but yet he throughout the entire time remained like solid and spiritually resilient to all of the temptations that he received and that
But
came
his
his way.
life was taken away.
But that's what I'm saying. Physically, he was sent to rock bottom,
Well, that's
but
what I meant.
spiritually, he was not.
So he was always in good faith, though.
Yeah. But there's a lot of people who haven't had like physical weakness or loss of power physically, but still fell down spiritually in power. And then while doing so, strayed them away from their purpose. Unless if their purpose was to become powerful, then that's walking them away on their own.
I also feel like it's a very powerful message. Um, Jesus being put on the cross, his body being ripped apart, basically damaged. He experienced a lot of physical pain, yet he did stay spiritually resilient and mentally
Right.
strong because it goes to show that your body is separate from that willpower, that soul,
But
that
even the
essence.
but you could also look at it as the temptations that um Satan was giving to Jesus in Matthew 4, right? Every temptation that Satan gives to anybody is almost soulful, right? I mean, maybe they're trying to give you temporary gain or something like that, but one of the temptations that Satan gave to Jesus was to like jump off of a cliff or a building or something of that sorts, because it was written that if Jesus were to do that, like he would fly or the angels would save him or something like that, off the top of my head. But it was Satan basically said that it was written for Jesus to jump off.
Interesting.
But but he's almost like, but that's a physical, like a physical temptation to jump off, but it could also be a spiritual way to like spiritually have him jump off as well. Because if he would have,
Oh,
then
he wouldn't
his
have been
prophecy
fulfilled.
wouldn't have been fulfilled, right? Jesus is like what he lived for to save up like everybody wouldn't have been fulfilled. So it was
It was hard.
both
Yeah.
physical and spiritual temptation, but Jesus gave in to neither.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's a interesting. It's like a little paradox, kind of.
Yeah.
If that's correct.
Yeah, but if we look at in our own lives how power influences us, I mean, again, like as a Christian, I feel like lures all the time to give into power of some sort of, I guess like I feel like I can make a joke or I feel like I can do something that may benefit me in the like in my relationships, benefit how people view me. But if it's like a sinful joke or something of those sorts, even something that simple
Little.
is like something that can, I mean, it's a spiritual battle for me, you know? I
Yeah.
mean, even in those little things, we see power conflicting with my purpose. I mean, I've definitely felt strength and courage and freedom, as we were saying, to become strengthened in my spirit and strengthened in my purpose.
That makes me think when there's a lot of people who protest and
Mhm,
speak up about wrongdoing and things like that, and it's very powerful what they do. They gather and
mhm,
they preach. I mean, even if it's something like church,
mhm.
you got a lot of people coming together and speaking the word, actively engaging with it and growing that way. But then just something just as powerful, if not more in my eyes, is silence. And guys, stay tuned. But silence is genuinely something that will bring you a lot of power because your mind is constantly running, right?
So what do you mean by that? Because I definitely know that, like how I can interpretate that, but I'm interested to see how you interpretate that from your perspective.
Well, I know this could, if I don't state this well, many could interpret it as, you know, um, when you stay silent when someone's getting hurt, or if you see someone beating someone up and you stay silent, you don't do anything, it could be a sin, right? Or I know in the Bible somewhere it speaks upon when you it's just as bad when you're the if you just let someone do something negative and you don't speak upon it.
Mhm.
Is it, do you know what I'm talking about? It's
Yeah, it's like equal to you committing this in yourself or something like that.
yeah, it's along the lines of that.
I'm not sure
When
if
you
that's in the
stay, it's like,
Bible or if that's just like a saying.
no, it's something in the Bible. It's talks about being stationary is um just as bad. It's but basically what I'm getting at is even when you stay silent with your mind, you close your eyes, stay quiet, and you're able to shut off those thoughts, you enter a different state. You feel it's it's very calming,
Hmm.
but it's very empowering. And if you can learn to control your own thoughts, your own mind, your own negative feelings, when you are able to, you know, beat the temptation with that alone time, and when you get, like, basically when you gain that control over yourself, you can put that back out into the world. You can pause before you say those silly things that might make you feel good, might feel powerful. You can really analyze, like you were just saying, when you make those little jokes, try to impress your friends or whatever. It those little things impact you.
Yeah.
But if you can silence yourself in your mind, and in doing so, you kind of become more in control of yourself and your life.
See, I see it as like we live in a world for like full of noise, especially now with short form videos where you're just constantly getting a dopamine hit and it's just dopamine, 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 right? You're constantly getting likes from people, follows, or seeing something on social media. Everything is so accessible where the world has become such a loud place with noise. And when do you really get time by yourself to just sit down and think, right? I mean, if you, there's a lot of people that meditate, and that's a good way to do that. But I hear from a lot of people that they have the most, like, I guess, inspiring thoughts, or they feel the most courage in themselves, or the most, as we were kind of saying, powerful in their spirit at night when they're about to go to bed. And the reason why is because you're laying down in complete silence, right?
Yeah.
And so, how I think of that is in this world full of noise, you need to have time to yourself to have a break where there's no noise, just pure time to regather. I mean, you see Jesus when a lot of times when he went to pray in like lonely places where it was just him praying, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's an important thing that you have time just with you and I mean, you and your purpose with God or you and praying, something of that sorts, or just you encapsulating your own thoughts for mental health or for physical health or for, I mean, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
How in your life, and even as we were saying, people chasing power and money, how are you making room in your life to take a break from the money, to take a break from the power, to take a break from the noise, and help like fulfill your purpose or help recuperate to, I don't know if I said recuperate right.
Maybe.
But to help like get your like your pieces aligned, right? Because
Yeah.
I mean, if you view life as a puzzle, all this noise shaking it up, and like you need to have time to make sure
it's
everything's
it's
good.
constant, and that's why I think it's very good to put technology away
Hmm.
before bed, and then keep it away when you wake up for a little bit, because I feel like technology makes the most noise, and it definitely it weakens it weakens you, because I feel like whenever I go before bed and I meditate and I silence myself and I lay there and I just think, or I try to not think. That's when
Hmm.
it's the most beneficial to myself. So I feel like I'm getting more of that power of God back into me. I feel like it's,
Hmm.
you know, the Holy Spirit is doing a little delivery, plugging me back into the source, allowing me to embody a larger field of purpose
Yeah.
rather than being taken over by the negative side of power.
Hmm.
But in the act of recharging me, per, per se, I am feeling more empowered,
Hmm.
more powerful. I put more power towards my purpose. And when you wake up and you're still in that state and you're able to start your day off the same way. Imagine if you start your day off every day, no matter how tired you are, and like a iPhone, plug yourself in and get 100% juice.
Hmm. Yeah.
Wouldn't that feel like that's how I picture the silence impacting us?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, but I mean, I even think like going back to like power's impact and the relationship between power and purpose, even something with all of the noise, like it's almost easy for you to get lost in which power is a good power, which power is a bad power in all of the noise. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, it's such an interesting topic because there's so many situations, and I think it all comes down to, as we were kind of saying, not getting caught up in the word,
Yeah.
right? When you feel powerful in prayer and when you feel powerful in your spirit, in your mind, in your soul, everything,
It's all good.
like when you feel powerful like that, don't get it mistaken with the same power that is used by your enemies to make you feel maybe temporarily good, but while
Yeah.
taking you away from eternal grace, but giving you temporary happiness, temporary, you know, dopamine, temporary noise, temporary, all of these things is being laid down and being surrendered in exchange for your purpose, you know?
Yeah.
So
Definitely. I mean,
it's
how much
all in
money
what?
would it take for someone to let go of their dreams? That's a that's an interesting
Oh, that's,
question.
ooh, ooh,
It's rough. Like
yeah,
if someone wanted to be a professional soccer player, how
right,
much money would it take for them to drop that? If
right.
someone wanted to go preach the word, how much money would it take for them to not do so?
Hmm. Right, right.
They think, I don't know.
Like that's where it's almost an exchange that you're exchanging your purpose, whatever it may be. Everybody has their own purpose. If you're a Christian, then a lot of people have the same Christian purpose to fulfill God's purpose, but everybody also has their individual purposes, right? Whether like, I mean, ranging from north to south, east and west, right? But I mean, that question, I think it's so. I've never thought about like a question like that to, you know, on anything of that sorts. But I think it is a good representation on the relationship in the negative sense of dropping your purpose for power. Like I think it's important, and the overall like I guess summary, so you could say, is to always stay like set on your purpose and always like remind yourself on what your purpose is. And when you have an opportunity that may seem good temporarily or that you may feel will do good for yourself and do good for others, but either strays you away from God or derails you from your life's purpose, is that really beneficial to yourself and to others and to everything that you live for? Or is it a, I guess, masked version of something made to harm you?
Yeah. And I recently saw this clip. It's along the lines of how much money would you give up, or how much money would you take to give up your dreams? Let me ask you, Dylan,
Hmm.
what is one thing, if you had one wish, what would it be?
If I were to have one wish, it would be I don't think I would take it.
That's a good sign. It's a really good sign. But if you just could make choose a wish, do something simple for now.
I'll say I will choose the ability to not go to school.
Okay. All right. And what is something you fear with all your heart?
I fear that I will end up losing my faith altogether with God.
And then we have a deal. That's the devil right there.
Sure.
He gives you,
Yeah.
no more school.
Hmm.
But what you fear most is it's an exchange, right?
Right.
God, he has a different kind of exchange. And I feel
It's-
like that power versus purpose is something God has a good balance of doing for us.
Yeah. I saw it
Oh,
in Matthew, it was either Matthew 5 or Matthew 6, that Jesus was saying for people that like owed debt, right? And we could see this both figuratively and literally, because literally at the time, um, people who owed debt had to spend time in prison until they could pay back everything. But we could also see this like figuratively in our lives as the debt that we owe to God, the sins that we've done, and the like, I mean, a whole bunch of things like that that we will never be able to repay, right? And then Jesus says in this chapter that you will not you will not leave until you have paid every last penny. And of
mhm.
course, he means this figuratively and literally. Literally for the people who could not leave until they've paid every last penny, but also figuratively for us that we owe more debt than we will ever be able to pay in our lives.
Yeah.
Since we committed that first sin, we have owed our like everything. We will never be able to repay that. But Jesus says laying down every last penny, and I interpret that as laying down your life.
If you really think about it, we've most of us have done a lot of things that we've kind of just pushed aside, went on with our life, and never put attention towards or on it, never really paid for that whatsoever. We kind of just got away with it.
Yeah, like
And
forget about it.
yeah, and we just move on and act as if it's gone.
Hmm.
I think that's what he means is there's so many over the course of 80 years or so, imagine how much you could have done that you just kind of brushed aside.
Yep.
And he was able to give us the opportunity to let alone or for one put attention on it and for one relieve all of it.
Hmm.
And I think that's an incredible thing. And it
Yep.
just goes to show how much power he has in our lives, how much power he has over our lives,
Yep.
and how much power he gives us to direct our own life.
Hmm. Yeah, and going back to that Acts 1, was it 1:8? Acts 1:8, I believe, where it says that we receive power from God. I
Mm-hmm.
see that as we receive God's power through us, right?
Yes.
We receive God's power to fulfill God's purpose.
Yep.
And I mean, there's so many ways that you could view this, but we want to ask you guys one thing before we let you guys go is how in your life do you feel that power conflicts with your purpose? How do you feel that power either benefits you towards your purpose or makes you feel that it is the best option for either yourself or others around you, but is it actually the best for your purpose? Just look at one thing that you find power in your life, and I guess you could say analyze it.
Yeah. Look at it, maybe do, if it takes 5 minutes out of your day to think about it and then write something down, whether, like Dylan said, it's how power has benefited you or impacted you negatively when it comes to your purpose. And when you're on your purpose, is it empowering or such? But yeah, guys, please do that because it is an extremely vast topic.
I feel like I want to do this just for cool video purposes, but blow it out for the end of the episode.
Dude, I love it.